I want to revisit, you've talked to me and others about when you knew Rocco was as tough as he's proven to be, the puke game against Ohio and coming back out. How much more does that seem like a turning point for him as a young starting quarterback? And B, how many more signposts has he added on that path along the way in terms of toughness and leadership?
Yeah, well, I still think quarterback is about experience, and it's about, the good days and the bad days and learning and growing from them. And I think the thing that I'm really proud of what I've watched with Rocco, and again, it's to his mentality. There's just such great curiosity from him on how does he become his best. And I don't think he ever feels like he's satisfied. I think he's a guy that's relentlessly trying to, as a leader, as a young man into a man, and really as a quarterback, every day I watch him working in his process to become great. And I really do appreciate that. And I would say probably that Ohio game is a turning point. I think there were some times in that first fall camp where, he shook off, maybe a little bit of a rusty start and just had the mental toughness to keep working through it. And, obviously there was some good competition along the way. And, he's had the ability to just kind of go to work and not worry about competition, not worry about the outside noise, but worry about himself. And I think he's a great reflector of our program. Not really worrying about anything outside of our walls. How do we just constantly pound away at the process it takes for us to become our best? And I think as he's grown in that, we've grown with him, and that part's been a great joy for all of us.
And obviously you've had a lot of great tight ends come through, sometimes at the same time with Chase, Dillon, and Charlie. But what does this group give you that's unique? Because it feels like you can go into 13, 14 personnel, and you're heavy, but it's not necessarily going to be a running play.
Yeah. I just think their skill set is so multiple in what they can do. And we've always said, I think the elite tight ends, if you look in the National Football League, boy, they just aren't great receivers. They're great blockers. They're great pass blockers. They've got the ability to do all the things well. And that's why tight end, in my opinion, is one of the hardest positions in football to play, because you have to acquire so many great fundamentals and skills to be able to be an elite player at that position. And you're right, I think you saw the evolution of that with Charlie and Chase, because in Dillon, I think they were very similar in that mold where they were pass catchers, they could pass pro, they could run block. And I think this group has that same mentality, where, they're really good ball catchers, but equally they're really good blockers. They're on the ball blockers, they're perimeter blockers, they're pass blockers. They can do a lot of different things for us. So I think that's been really big for us. I go back to even our days at Toledo when we had guys that could do that. It just gave us so much multiplicity in what we could do offensively.
How do you address this rivalry with your team, especially the guys who aren't from the state of Iowa, just understanding the magnitude of this game?
Yeah, I think you respect it, and I think first and foremost, it is a great rivalry. It's it's obviously two programs that really care about this game, two universities, two fan bases. They're two biggest flagship universities in the state of Iowa. And so I think you respect the rivalry, but again, the uniqueness of this game when it's played, it's so early in the football season, and you have to understand that it's still about our growth, and it's still about our process, and it's still about how we work day in and day out to become our best. And so I think that's a balancing act, right? I think everybody wants you to say crazy things today, but the reality is you have great respect for your opponent. We do. We certainly have great respect for who they are and what they're about. But the reality of it is we have to be able to continue to grow forward this week if we want to play our best football come Saturday.
And with Coach Mouse, what are your thoughts on the way he's grown and involved in his role since he first took over, dating back to last year?
Yeah, I think a lot like Rocco. I think he's a guy that has grown up in our program, and I think Taylor's got he's got a great knowledge for the game of football. I think he really cares about his players. He really cares about people, and I think he equally has this humility about himself to be curious and use his great coaching staff around him and use the voices around him to put a product every Saturday that at least gives us the best chance to be successful. So I'm really proud of what Mouse has accomplished so far, and obviously he'll keep growing week in and week out as we continue to grow.
Matt, this series, since 2019, you've had game day here twice. Now Big Noon's coming in. What does it say about this series that it's getting now so much national attention?
Yeah, I think that goes back to, it's twofold. Number one, I think the respect nationally for both programs. You know, I don't know. I think we've had to work really hard to get our program to that point. You know, obviously what Coach Ferentz has done over the longevity of time has great respect for what he's accomplished, and certainly that program has accomplished. So I think when you look at it holistically, that's neat that you know, it's garnered such national attention. There's a lot of great rivalry games in college football, and the fact that this one has become meaningful, I know that means a lot to certainly both programs.
So in that same vein then, have you or how have you seen this rivalry change over 10 years? And I guess has your perception of it changed over a decade as well?
Well, I think for me, I had to understand it a little bit coming in, not so much the game or the magnitude of it, but where it falls in the schedule. I just think it's unique. And obviously you know, their program was so established by the time we came in here that, you know, I felt like we've been playing catch up for a while in terms of the consistency that we want to play football, and obviously the consistency that they have played football. So again, just a lot of respect for the rivalry, a lot of uniqueness of playing this game so early. You know, obviously uniquely this year we're challenged where your two biggest rival, you know, in terms of rival football games, you're playing those in the first 3 weeks of the season. And so, you know, I just think it is what it is. It's how the schedule sits, and I think you have to grow and adapt and understand that a little bit along the way.
Willich, Bohr, any updates?
Yeah, I think both of them, I would say at best, are questionable. You know, I don't know. I don't think either of those guys are obviously long term, but I would say going into it, both are questionable right now.
How much do the results of this CyHawk series over, say, the past 10 years even matter to 18-year-old kids?
Yeah, I said this before. I don't even know if 18 to 22-year-olds know what happened yesterday, you know, and so I think there is great things with tradition and uniqueness and rivalries, and those things are awesome. But again, I think the focus has to be on the present. And I think when you get lost in the past and you go down some rabbit holes, you can not be available to be ready for the moment. We're just trying to have a great practice on Tuesday. And, you know, I think that's hard enough as it is, you know, in terms of coaching 18 to 22-year-olds, let alone 30, 40, 50-year-olds. Man, can you come and be your best version of you today? Because if you are, then we're going to be better tomorrow. And so that's really where we try to put our focus. But I think respecting and understanding what this rivalry means and what it looks like, absolutely. You know, diving into it to where, man, you can't be focused on the present. I think you can get yourself in big trouble that way.
Hey, Matt, two parts. This new Iowa quarterback, what do you see from him? And then when you scout him, are you watching tape from last year? How much do you weigh that compared to what you saw on Saturday from him?
Yeah, I think you have to. You know, number one, I think most importantly, there's a great respect for anybody that wins at the level that he's won. And I think he's tough. I think he's really physical. I think he's gritty. And again, a guy that's got championship pedigree, and that's what he has. And so, you know, I just have the utmost respect for what I saw at South Dakota State, how he led his football team there. Hard read on Saturday in terms of what we're watching, but you saw a guy that just kept getting better and better and better throughout the football game. And obviously, he's got great components around him. You know, he's got a tremendous offensive line, great running back room, great tight end room. Man, I think the evolution of their receiver room. I think they're a completely different team than they were 2 years ago. You know, they're a team that really fits his skill set and allows them to be multiple. And certainly, I think you're going to see that and continue to see that evolve and grow.
Oh, sorry. I was not paying attention. Can you talk about Aiden Flora and what you've seen from him?
Wow, yeah. I mean, Aiden, I think, again, like some of the great young players that have grown up in this program, like the Jake Hummels and some of those guys, it's just like, you know, they've made their name on special teams. And Aiden is a guy that I think is he's an unbelievable competitor. He's forced his way on the football field as a freshman a year ago. I mean, he had some big moments if you go back to the bowl game, you know, to what he's done on special teams for us and for this football team. It's incredible. I think his ceiling as a football player here is really high. He can run. He loves football. He's an elite competitor. We're really proud of him, and obviously he's going to have to continue to grow. But what he's done for us so far has been awesome.
Coach, it's been 7 years since the home team won in this series. Is that random? Well, maybe what's led to the road team having so much success?
Yeah, that's probably a really good question. I don't know if it's random or not. I think it's fact. So, I think the reality of playing your best at home in this game, I do think the uniqueness of, man, there is so much energy around this game. The home team probably feels that a lot more just because you're living in it from Thursday, Friday to Saturday. But yeah, those are things we've talked about a little bit just as a staff and certainly with our players. But I think it's certainly a unique stat. How do you come out and play your best football and be able to be ready to go, at 11:05? I think those are all things we got to challenge ourselves with, but I think it's a great point.
Coach, you just spoke on energy. Is there a different type of energy with your players this week, or a different mindset, or is it just kind of going forward like this is just another week?
Yeah, I don't think you could ever say in a rival game, we talked about this a little bit for K-State, I think you automatically feel the energy around, when there's a rival football game. But again, I think you're a fool if, man, how your process and how you're practicing changes, then you're not who you say you are, right? The great player is the same every day that he walks in this facility with an urgency and really a mindset to come get better. And again, that's what we have to do. That's why I think there's so much yo-yo up and down in college football. You don't know who's going to win any given Saturday because it's hard to be consistent. It's hard to show up and be your best every day. And so, again, you'd be foolish not to say you don't feel the excitement around a game like this. But if that dictates who you are, what your process is, how you get ready to play football, then I don't know if we'll be a very good football team because that's not what championship football looks like.
Might as well ask you about tight ends right away. How much of a dimension, or how much, flexibility and creativity are you able to play with when you've got probably 4 guys you feel you can deploy out on the field and they can stretch it, they can block it, confuse defenses, that type of stuff?
Yeah, it gives you quite a bit of flexibility. More than anything, I think those guys are some of our most trusted guys, and we do a lot with those guys in protections, and we could be really multiple with how we want to line up and take some heat off of some other people, I think, with those guys and be able to do some different stuff. And I'm a little biased, obviously, because I'm in that room and I know those guys, I know what they're about, but I think more than anything, those guys are some of the most trusted people we have on the offense to go do whatever they get asked to do, and they're some of the most selfless people we have in the team.
Coach Campbell has told us before that he knew what kind of quarterback he had in Rocco when he decided to keep playing in Ohio when he was puking his guts out. What kind of moment was that like for you in terms of seeing him obviously in a different spot? And is there a moment for you where you realize this guy not only has toughness, but he's got the ability to be what he's become?
Yeah, I think for us as coaches and teammates, you see it all day, every day. So when he goes out and he has a really good day, even in the game, I didn't realize that we only had the one completion at the time until afterwards, which it was at a tight end and it was not a very good route. So I told Rocco it was our fault that we didn't have 20 for 20 or whatever he was. But I can't say enough about how hard the kid works and how much the details and the margins mean to that guy, how much the community means to that guy, how much his teammates mean to that guy. So he's one of the most selfless people that we've ever had here, and he wants to win for everybody besides himself, ironically, and I think that's what makes him really special. And time in college football where that doesn't happen very much, but he's incredible. I'm going to miss that guy a lot when I don't get to see him every day.
Coach, what's the challenge of preparing for an Iowa defense that hasn't really changed much in your time here, but they just do it really, really well?
Yeah, I think the culture of that defense and that team speaks for itself. The physicality, the nastiness that those guys play with, you got to bring your lunch pail to that game, and you look at last year, how much of a struggle it was for us in the second half. They're going to make you earn everything. They're not going to give you anything. And some of the best offenses, you watch Ohio State win the national championship last year, and it was 0-0 in the second quarter of that game. And it's hard to move the football. They make it really tough, and they suffocate you from all angles. So it's a culture war as much as it is anything. It's a battle of toughness. It's a battle of grit. And most of the time it's going to come down to a play here and a play there, and you don't know which one it is. And that's what makes it so awesome and so scary at the same time.
Where does that pop pass, where the tight end kind of blocks and then releases, rank among your favorite plays?
The one from Ireland, it's up there. I think the one that Gabe caught against Utah last year where Carson threw it to him is a little bit higher. but I love a tight end dump as much as anything. Like on my tombstone, I want there to be just a reel of tight end dumps. Ours and other people's, they're my favorite.
Both of those plays, I think, came at kind of the end of the game in a critical sequence. Do you find yourself having to hold on to it and keeping those in your back pocket for one of those big moments?
Yeah, kind of. Like we have them, and a little bit of it is a feel thing, and some of it is you want to make sure that they're in, especially the first game of the season, you don't know exactly what looks you're going to see, especially in that K-State game when they played a different defense this year than last year. So you plan some stuff to see if they're going to line up how you thought, and then that look, credit to Sam Steenbuckner and Landry and Klain and those guys too. They handle our short yards and goal line, but it was the same look that we had. So, and like I was saying earlier, like who do we trust the most in the game? Gabe Burkle's one of the most trusted people, and I feel like between Rocco and Gabe, if he puts the ball in the vicinity, something good's going to happen, and let your guys go make plays, and they did. But that play's high on my list.
And last one on that from me, how much ability does it take a tight end to have for him to be able to block, successfully for a little bit, to have that threat, and then to be able to go out and release for a pass?
I think ability, sure, but you got to have like heart beyond measure and grit beyond measure and toughness beyond measure, because like that route's not one like you just have a bunch of like drill tape of or other cut-ups of special routes. Like there's feel to it and there's timing, and it's going to be like a jump ball, and it's not going to be perfect, and it's hard to replicate. Even like the Utah one last year, we didn't complete it in practice, and you're kind of just hoping that it works and your guys can go make a play, and they did, and Gabe did in that moment. So it's the want to more than anything, I think, from more so than the ability.
Through 2 weeks so far, how would you evaluate your team's offense performance so far? What do you like and don't like?
Yeah, I think I'm still really sour and mad at myself for just the first fumble against Kansas State. Happy with like the operation through the first 2 weeks, but you're always like hunting for the margins of what you can do better and how you can execute better, or how you can get other people involved more. So not where we need to be, by any means, but I still think when you have a guy like we have at quarterback, you're always, you feel like you'll have a chance, and we got a lot of little things to work on. We got to run the football a lot better. We got to have a better start to running the ball. I challenged those front seven guys really after last game of us being able to have a better start in the run game, because you're not going to be able to, get chunk plays like that, especially in a game like this week. So we're going to have to be better at the line of scrimmage between the tight ends and the O-line at running the football. And I think when you look at us the last 2 years there, we aren't where we need to be. We're better, but we got to be better at running the football. So we have a lot of ground to make up there.
Similar to that, I mean, you've been very candid and honest with yourself and us, just how you feel about your ability as a play caller. Now in year two, how do you feel so far, and what were some of the biggest things that you incorporated from last year into this year?
I think just probably the biggest thing from last year to this year is that I wish I would have known maybe is just to be bold and to roll the dice a little bit. And it's really hard to like methodically move the football on people, and there were times last year where I tried to do that, and it stalled our offense out. Like we have a really good quarterback and some good people, so let those guys go make plays for you. And I probably just being conservative and nervous early last year is what I wish I could change. But we have such a good offensive staff here, and we're so trusted. When someone makes a mistake or suggests something and it works or doesn't work, we're able to make good adjustments. So I'm not as worried about that stuff. I'm not afraid to fail as much as I was early last year, and I was.
Hey, Coach, where do you feel like your momentum is at right now?
Yeah, I think we have the ball rolling, but for us, like we try to start back from scratch each week and prepare like we're playing the top team in the country every single week. It doesn't matter if it's Miami or Kansas State or South Dakota. Like I've been here for games with Coach Campbell where we've lost to Northern Iowa, where we've lost to Ohio, where we've beat Oklahoma and top 5 teams. Like you have to bring your A game every single week, and you have to start back at the drawing board every single week. And as soon as you think you have momentum, it's gone, and the game can change really fast. So you got to be ready for any and everything at all times. But for us, like, how can we build off what we did well, and then how can we stress the areas that we're not doing well, because the team that we're going to play this week is going to expose every weakness that we have if we don't do it right now. So you don't get complacent. You don't tap yourself on the back. Like you keep your foot on the gas pedal as much as you can until the season's over.
What do you do in practice to mimic Iowa's big physical defense?
Yeah, we get a lot of our guys in our – Coach Campbell runs the defense, and he brings some of the guys in our starters and our second-string guys over. And as much as we tell those guys to replicate the snap count, they're going to try to get us to jump off sides. They're going to shift stem and yell, have those guys do it, reward them when they get our guys to jump off sides, make it crazy. We listen to music, crazy music the whole time and try to just make it chaos. And as many ways as we can challenge Rocco and challenge our offense and challenge myself and just remind those guys like what's at stake at all times. But it's always a challenge every single rep. It's an important one, and we don't let any go to waste.
Hi, Coach. You've talked about the tight ends quite a bit. Gabe Burkle in the first half of last season wasn't a big emphasis in the passing game, turned into one after Ben Bramer's injury. He seems to be a big influence in the receiving game this year for you guys. What has allowed him to evolve into a more commonly used pass-catching target for you?
Yeah, I think, and I keep circling, it's like he's so trusted, and he prepares, him and Ben and Rocco prepare on a level that you just don't see often in college football. And last year, when you had Jaden, you had Jalen, those are the best players on our team at the time. So how can we accent Gabe in a way that makes our offense the best way it can? And last year, Jaden and Jalen were the focal point of a lot of plays, and Ben was coming off a really good season, and Gabe is really good at it too. Like, at that point, was he as good as Jaden and Jalen? Like, what was the best thing for our offense? Like I've told you guys before, players, formations, plays is always the basis of our offense. It could be tight ends one year, receivers, breeze, running backs, however. So for us, he's earned the right to be trusted and get touches in critical moments, which he's been here in a third year now, and he knows, like, there's going to be moments like there was at Kansas State or Jaden Higgins last year against Iowa where, like, it's not going to be perfect and you're going to have to make a play. And it's hard to put that on someone's shoulders young. Like, you look at the struggles Jalen Knoll had his sophomore year. He doesn't have the senior year if he doesn't have those. Same with Jaden. He didn't have the great start to his junior year with that Ohio and the Iowa game. And you build through hard times. And that's how it is at Iowa State for everybody, for me, for Coach Campbell. And our players are no different. And Gabe's better for putting his hand down and getting punched in the face over and over again until he becomes one of the best blockers and, one of the best route runners at his position also.
You talked about critical moments there. Rocco has been, nails for you guys in the fourth quarter in that moment in the last 2 years. What have you seen from him that allows him to rise to the moment in the big moments in the fourth quarter when you guys need a game-winning score, or you need to shut the door against an opponent like you did against K-State in week 0?
Yeah, honestly, like, Rocco I think he's a psychopath more than people think. Like, even you watch the start of the K-State game, some of the stuff that was there, like, that guy's better when all the air sucked out of the stadium, everybody can barely see and stand up, and it's about to puke, and that guy's just nails. And even going into last week, like, we didn't take the shot to start the game because, like, it's cool or that's what we did before. It's like Rocco's better when we take a shot early and we put a lot on that guy's. The more we put on that guy's plate, the better he is. The easier we try to make it for him. For whatever reason, it's not, and he's better with his back against the wall. Like, the guy's just nuts, and I love him, and he's great, and I die for him. And he's so trusted, and you always feel like you have a chance with that guy. It doesn't matter what it is, if it's football, we talk about golf and all the other stuff we play all off season. Like, he wants to win everything in the worst way, and he's the ultimate competitor, and he's a guy that makes everyone around him better. He gives belief. He puts belief into everybody, into Campbell, into me, into his teammates. Like, as long as there's a second on the clock, you feel like that kid's going to find a way to get something, to create something, and he's awesome.
You guys had 6 different players catch at least 2 passes, I think it was, against K-State, and then, 12 or 13 players caught passes against South Dakota. How is this offense kind of a different animal to prepare for than the one last season?
Yeah, I think the depth that we have and the health that we have, at least at this point in the season, has allowed us to be in all sorts of different personnels. Our running back room is as healthy as it's been. Our tight end room is as deep and healthy as it's been. Our receiver room is, we have some really, you guys have seen what Brett and Dom, and you haven't got to see how good Chase is, but that guy's unbelievable also. And we're deeper than we probably have been, so we could be a lot more multiple. We can play in the same formation in the play, but do it in 13 personnel and 11 personnel and 10 personnel. So when you do that, depending on the coverage, anybody could catch a different pass. So for us, like, we don't have to have as many plays. We can play in different personnels, and with that, different people can catch different stuff. Doesn't matter if it's 2-back or 13 or 14 personnel. We can be in the same formation. So I think that's allowing us to get more people different touches and people in different roles.
Mine's kind of a piggyback to that. You got all the running backs that we see, and then we're seeing this depth at wide receiver. Is there a balance in keeping guys fresh and letting guys have a rhythm too, as far as the subbing goes? And I guess how does that evolve maybe over the next few weeks compared to what we've seen so far?
Yeah, I think early in games, I mean, our staff is, I can't say enough about Coach Pauly and what he does with those wideouts, and Landry and Clinton and Waters, and I really trust Coach Pauly to put the guys that he wants. And I never ask, even last year, like, who's in the game at wideout or who's going to be in at each play. Like, he's got a great feeling, can go do it. And Landry's really the same way. Like, he's got, for being new, like, has a really good feel for those backs and what runs we're going to call. And then in the second half, we can kind of pick and place a little bit more. But early in the game, at least in the first couple drives, we're strategic on what running backs might be in a little bit. And then it becomes more of a feel thing and a trust thing and who's hot. And, I mean, you watch Dylan Lee and how hard that guy runs. Like, you feel like, I mean, it's top down between running backs, tight ends, and wideout. Like, you have to bring your A game, or like one of those other guys is going to step in and give the guys a spark. So if you don't, like, then you might lose your turn. So I think it just elevates everybody. Even last game, like, Coach Pauly called the game in the fourth quarter, and we went 2 for 2. Like, that guy's unbelievable. So we got depth on our staff just like we do on the team, and we're lucky to have the people that we have here.
Yeah, obviously you think about that a little bit, but at the end of the day, once you are done with that game, you got to kind of flush it and move on to the next season. Obviously, this being our third game this week, but usually it's week 2. Like, you got a lot of the season left to try to kind of keep going, so you kind of got to brush that off to the side after a win like that.
You're from Iowa, right?
Yep.
Being an Iowa kid, what does this game mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously really cool to play in. A lot of Iowa guys playing this game, so I think it's a really good opportunity just for the state of Iowa to draw attention to us and on this game. I think it's really awesome.
There's a lot of extra noise that goes into this one on the outside. How do you guys keep focus on the task at hand?
I mean, I think it's pretty simple. Just as easy it is to say, just don't let that affect you. Stay off social media, things like that. Just kind of keep your eyes forward on the game ahead.
How do you feel like the linebackers have been playing this year? Obviously, it's a deep group.
Yeah, obviously we've been playing good, kind of playing together as a group, and I think it's been really helpful to have all that depth because, like, we're rotating guys in constantly. Like, if you're tired, we got a guy to come in for you. So I think the depth has really shown so far this season.
When you know Iowa wants to run the football, even though you know it's coming, how hard is it to stop?
Yeah, I mean, they've past in their history, their offensive line has obviously been really good. So that's one thing that we're kind of honing in on. How do we attack those guys? Obviously, them being really good this year again. So it's just all about kind of block destruction, knowing your reads and keys, and just playing hard.
How much did you enjoy watching these games growing up?
I was telling someone earlier, I didn't remember watching a lot of college football, honestly, growing up. I was more an NFL guy. Yeah, I was a big Vikings fan, so there was a lot of that going on in our house, but not a lot of college football. But obviously, I'm sure we tuned in every year.
So it's just kind of like, it's what my son thinks. He finally started liking college football, but he was like, the NFL's the best, so why in the world am I watching college football? Is that kind of your
that was kind of it, yeah. I think I like college football a lot more now. Yeah. Obviously, I'm playing it now, so, but yeah.
What do you remember from last year's when obviously Kyle with the walk-off kind of burst onto the scene there and did what he did last week? But it seems like something wild always happens in these games, and you've been a part of a few of them now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that was cool last year. Obviously, I had just had surgery that week, so I was back home chilling with a couple guys back home. And I mean, that was one of the craziest. We were all just kind of like, I was like almost standing up, just had surgery, my legs hurting, and I'm just like, I couldn't believe it. Like, we all just freaked out. It was one of the most awesome experiences I'd seen on TV.
2011, I honestly couldn't tell you much. I think I was 8 then, so I don't remember much. But I know, I'm sure that it was very good time in Ames after that game. Yeah, definitely.
Is it any different for the team knowing that it's been 14 years since winning the game at home?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely know that. We've heard that for sure. Each year is a new year, though, and we have to restart and kind of reset. And I feel like this year we're not looking into the past, and things like that. We're just focusing on ourselves each and every day. Every moment is a new moment for us, and we just got to stay in the present and focus on our preparation. Obviously, going out there and having good practices and things like that.
What about Phil Parker's defense is so tough to go up against?
Yeah, I mean, great players, super talented players at every position on their defense. Obviously, an amazing coach in Coach Parker. So I think those two things coming together, you know, they're a very well-coached team with great, very talented players. So it makes it tough for sure.
We knew the tight ends were going to be pretty heavily involved, but 13 catches last week for the tight ends.
Yeah.
How cool was that for your room all together?
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing going out there and not just one person having like all the catches or all the moments and things like that. We had a ton of guys with catches, and I think it just showcases, you know, how we prepare each and every week. We went out there and just did our job. We didn't do anything too fancy or anything like that. Just kind of went out there and did whatever we were supposed to and let the game kind of come to us. But it was a super awesome game, super fun to be a part of for sure.
How does, when Rocco gets in a group like that, what's the feeling like for the rest of the team?
Yeah, obviously it keeps, you know, the offense flowing and things like that, but it was almost just like the flow state. It was like out there as an offense, we were kind of in that flow state, you know, not really thinking about everything, but just kind of going out there and playing football because we were just so prepared. We knew what we were doing on each and every play, and that just goes back to preparation, and obviously Rocco had an amazing game.
If you had to choose one word to describe what it's like to play against Iowa, what word would you choose?
Exciting, definitely. I mean, it's an exciting game. There's a lot of attention on it and things like that. So yeah, exciting.
I imagine it's a very physical one. Is that something you personally look forward to, a nice physical matchup against a rival?
Yeah, I mean, they're a super physical team, and we know that, and we think we're a physical team as well. So it's always, definitely a very physical game from both ends, and we know that going into every game, or this game every year. So yeah, we're ready for it for sure.
Do you guys have an advantage having one game played more than they do already?
I don't know like if that's an advantage or anything, but I mean, it just, you know, it's given us extra reps for sure. It's given us extra film to watch and to grow a part of, but I don't know if that's an advantage or anything, just more film for us to watch and more opportunities, I guess, for us to have in-game experience this year. Maybe for the young guys, definitely, who are playing a lot more, them getting those reps in definitely helps.
You're from Prairie. You went to Prairie, right?
Yep.
Did you grow up a Hawkeye fan? I mean, what was your early days looking like?
Yeah. I grew up a Hawkeye fan. Yep.
Okay, so with your family, you know, playing here already for a few years, what is their, you know, obviously they're probably supporting you.
Yeah, no, they're all bought into Iowa State and rooting for our team and rooting for me as well. Yeah.
So how was that kind of, you know, playing Iowa for the first time and now continuously playing them over and over again as you were an Iowa fan back in the day?
Yeah.
I mean, how was that just playing against them?
Yeah, it's a blessing for sure. Playing football against any team's a huge blessing for me. I'm just excited to be out there on the field, and I'm excited to be here doing it for sure.
This series that's getting so much national attention.
Yeah, I mean, it shows it's a big rivalry, a big game, something that people want to watch, especially our fans. And so it's just now our time, you know, Iowa's as well to put on a good game for them.
What have you learned about this series since you've started participating?
That it means a lot to this state, it means a lot to this people, means a lot to these programs. So, you know, whatever way we can try to get this win, Iowa's a tough team, so I don't think we've ever beaten them here in the past 20 years. So it's going to be a good one, and especially like you just said, big noon kickoffs here, so it's going to be fun.
How different of a quarterback are you than the first time you played Iowa?
A lot more mature, a lot more experienced. I mean, those are the easy ways I could go about saying that, because there's just been a lot of things in the past 2 years where there's been mistakes on my end that I've needed to clean up, and so I think this year is a good year to refocus and, you know, be better at those things.
What did you think of Alex last week?
Alex was great. He gave a spark to that offense, operated that offense well with that second group. I mean, I know he led them down, I think, 2 touchdown drives, so that was awesome to see from him. It was a lot better than I was my first year here, so he's on the right track and he'll be good.
Rocco, when we watch an Iowa game, they always talk about their defense is simple. They just do what they do. Mm-hmm. Is that true, or is that a little overblown?
Honestly, you know, they've been doing the same stuff for the past, 20 years, ever since Coach Parker has been there. And so they've just really good at it. Those guys over there are really fundamentally sound. Their scheme is amazing. So it's really tough to go against that defense. And I mean, last year, Ohio State scored 7 points through 3 quarters. So it just shows you how hard that defense is to go against. You just got to find ways in those little holes, little areas that you can, get the ball thrown and where you can run the ball. So it's going to be fun.
What makes it so tough as a quarterback going against Coach Parker's defense?
Like I just said, they're really fundamentally sound, really detailed into what they're doing. There's really not that many errors on their defensive side. And so I give credit to them because they've been able to show out for the past 20 years and the 4 years since I've been here to play consistent defense. And so it's awesome to see that.